and in Pancake.
On July 20th, 2012, a young aspiring rapper from the former USSR released a mixtape on Bandcamp and other mixtape sites called Hyperkinesis. Hyperkinesis had production with a more MF Doom and alternative flair and impactful yet witty lyrics like Aesop Rock, Slug, and LP, which was incredibly uncommon at the time with the way that hip-hop was going and the direction the music as a whole was taking. That rapper was Rav. Rav started making music in the mid-2000s with friends and aspiring rappers Kill Bill the Rapper and Square back on Newgrounds. Bill and Rav would end up meeting around 2013 and 2014 and becoming the best of friends. Rav would essentially end up being the de facto co-executive producer for Bill's 2014 cult classic mixtape Ramona. Heavy recommendation from me, by the way. If you haven't heard that project, stop watching this video and go do that. Rav would continue making music and in 2015 drop his project Beneath the Toxic Jungle, along with some B-sides here and there. In 2018, two aspiring YouTube stars Matt Watson and Ryan McGee from Super Mega would end up discovering Rav and Bill, with Matt Watson showing up at their Icon Unlimited Barbershop live performance in 2018, and the next year inviting the both of them on the Super Mega podcast. This exposure brought them a fan base that stayed with them almost half a decade later, and you know what? I respect it. In 2018, Rav would form the group Exordium, later renamed Exociety, with fellow artists Square, Rekadam, Kill Bill, Data Cat, Ashido Brown, and Aerospace. Those two will be important later. If you like witty lyrics, depressing lyrics, anime references, and lo-fi hip-hop beats, you might like Rav. I found out about them from one of my friends who thought I would like them since I'd gone through a lo-fi hip-hop phase, and they made music of a similar vein, but it wouldn't be until Thanksgiving 2020 when I really listened to their music in the midst of a global pandemic. I remember waking up at 5:30 because it was ingrained in my schedule for school, letting my dogs outside, back inside, and then listening to Ramona while I played Roblox B-Hop before my school's mandatory Microsoft Teams meetings began at 8 a.m. Those were long and tiring days, day in and day out, where I really began to question my mental health and what that meant to me. I never thought about it before, but here amidst a global pandemic, locked in a bedroom with only myself and no one else to really talk to, unless my German teacher made me speak out in class, but to prepare I made sure to write down all my answers in advance, completely ruining the point of practicing a language, and I hope he doesn't see this, considering that's how I passed his class. And all my online friends went through the same thing and were way too tired to hang out after school, so it wasn't like I could just call one of them up and go, "Hey man, let's play a game real quick." And even if we did end up playing games, we were all drained of energy anyway. And I bring this up because Rav's primary subject matter in his music is his mental health. Constantly he talks about being depressed, and this may seem suffocating, but honestly, he's made a career out of bringing it up a million different ways without it being annoying and making good music at the same time, so something is clearly working. And what else is clearly working is my segue to tell you to like and subscribe so you didn't even notice it. Okay, back to the video. Out of Rav's discography, there are some top tier songs and some great albums. And in this video I want to highlight two albums from his stacked discography. I'm On To Me.
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 I'm on to me. I'm on to me.
And one other one. I'm On To Me is a 7-track album released November 27, 2020, with production from Square, Kill Bill, and Rav himself, and featuring Bill and Square on some tracks. I've said before that I think I'm On To Me is one of the best albums to express mental health issues in hip-hop, along with Earl Sweatshirt's some rap songs, and I still stand by this. The first track, Dandelions with Bill, explores the ideas of time passing you by and losing motivation and passion, feeling pushed around by life as a whole and not doing anything for yourself. Me, Never, explores the ego at its lowest and most overinflated, and it's in this song where we begin to see a common theme in the rest of the songs, and Rav's discography as a whole, with his mood being dependent on the people around him and how they treat him. This is present in the next two tracks, Molasses and Prosthetic Self-Love. Molasses is about feeling slow and tired and being unable to break the depressive cycle and unable to spread your wings and being stuck in one place. Prosthetic Self-Love is the realest song on this album, and in terms of lyrics, it's probably one of the more relatable songs here. It, like Me Never, explores the ego and how he's stuck with that, but the song also heavily focuses on being dependent on someone and how they feel about you and whatnot, and your entire life being based on that. Channel F is about Rav and Bill being scared to let go of what they know is bad for them simply because it's security. It's a constant in their ever-changing lives, and it's something they can hold on to, or at least something they can try to hold on to before it escapes. But as Rav says, "And I can't see me in your eyes no more, yet still I try. How the fuck am I supposed to change myself when I don't know who I am? A dead end is metaphorically about a dead end. The dead end of a strained and tired relationship where two people have grown weary about each other, and it causes pain and damages and almost ruins the relationship going forward if it can even do that. And after the relationship breaks is the point of moving on. And the last track here, To My Future Self, is about moving on. It's something I struggle with. It's a very common theme, and for Rav, for his main two albums, the final tracks are about moving on. He reassures the listener that they aren't perfect, and it may not seem like much to hear that, but it really does help. The moment after something like that, you feel so terrible. You feel like the worst person existing in the universe. For me, in the last few months when I had some events happen that didn't work out, I felt exhausted, dead, tired. I lost all motivation to do anything, and for weeks I hated looking in the mirror at the horrible, awful person I thought I became. But the truth is, people just aren't perfect, and this is just the way we are. Square's singing on this song is just beautiful and hits so different. The droning beat really works here, and the song ends with blowing out dandelions, which allows the album to be played in a perfect loop. And if you listen to albums in loop like I do, by the time that third loop ends, when I first heard I'm Onto Me, I broke down in tears like ugly crying, bro. Intermission time. Before I talk about the next super important album from Rav, I want to talk about what really makes him special. Rav is an artist who has no shame about releasing demos and B-sides, and I have major respect for any artist who does that. These demos are finished songs that just have no place on an album, still have a place and reason to exist, and some of them are absolutely deserve to be shared with the world. Some of Rav's best songs are on these B-side projects, but I'll save that for the end where I give some recommendations. Rav's writing is super visceral, and if you were a neglected child who grew up in a household with emotionally unavailable parents, and some of his lyrics might hit you hard, especially if you have clinically diagnosed mental disorders like depression and anxiety. This kind of writing can be seen all over his discography, in anything from the B-sides, Hyperkinesis, I'd say less so in Beneath the Toxic Jungle, but present in I'm Onto Me, Leap, New Moon, and Deception Falls. Rav is to me like Ryan Gosling is to some, you know. If you're like me, you listen to Rav and you're like, wow, he is just like me for real. And speaking of just like me for real, Rav's most recent, newest album, Leap, released on March 15th, 2023, with, you guessed it, 9 tracks this time. The instrumentals here are more focused on using analog synthesizers, which is a risk I think really paid off for him, especially if he wants to go for a raw and more droning, ethereal sound, which absolutely worked. A lot of the instrumentals here are more full sounding than previous Rav projects. The first song, Post Clarity Time Skip, is a good opener that makes you feel anxious about what the album has in store. The album has a theme of taking back self-worth from the people you put it in, and reclaiming and relearning what it is to be oneself, and be unapologetically oneself, which is something that is especially relatable to me, and something I struggle with a lot. Half Silvered is the first song to do this, with this theme with lyrics like, you don't lose shit whether you stay or betray me, as long as I'm still entertaining, you could get something. Soon as I'm not, you'll move on then, but I bleed too. And when you step away from the glass, I don't disappear. My life ain't an anecdote. You're not entitled to my smile, yo, let's get it clear. I don't owe you shit, certainly not my love. When I re-listened to this song after spending time away from this album, having my canon event already occurred by this point, the song hit me so much more than it ever had before, and it made me angry and upset and want to wallow in that, but life goes on. My Bag is probably going to be my #1 song this year for Spotify Wrapped. The beat is just so good. I love the atmosphere, and the lyrics are everything perfect about Rav, with nothing bad here. The subject matter is more focused on once again putting worth in other people, struggling to be an artist and struggling to find himself, which as a creator is something I struggle to find as well. Agent Orange is a chill track about whack rappers featuring hymns of Das Racist, and it's probably the worst song on the album, but I still like it. Some of these lines feel like shots at former exociety member and independent rapper who's currently on the worst album rollout I've ever seen, sorry but I've gotta say it, Aerospace, with lines like, it's not by the design that I inspire resentful feelings from my so-called peers in the go-kart years while I'm F1 tier. Worth 2 is a follow-up to one of the best exociety songs on Skin, Worth. This time, instead of a more trap or cloud rap sound, this one is more atmospheric with more melodic verses from everyone here. It's clear that Rav, Bill, and Square are addressing people from their past, but there are no direct shots, but once again, some of Rav's lines seem a little pointed at Aerospace. Mostly the line on, I don't operate on bad faith, bro, I act decent, which seems like a direct response to when Aerospace went on Instagram live ranting about how they used him, and Rav is just so calculated and operating on bad faith.
And of course y'all gonna do all this shit on the background, try to make it seem like I'm trying to make it seem like whatever. This is what the fuck gaslighting look like.
It's not my place to say who's in the right here. I'm just upset that even a year later they had to split up on bad terms without talking any of it out. Bill's verse here about don't talk to me unless it's sorry, sorry, sorry. I ain't try the fucking cake, but hey, the pity party's gnarly. I got pitchfork tips, they poke in innards, got a list of shit you won't remember. How convenient how your brain works. Mystery link, red stained shirts. Better talk me down, that ledge is tempting. All these workarounds got me pessimistic. You won't ever grant me the empathy that I granted you, I guess we just different. The saddest part about it is that I trusted you against my very instincts. Thank God I had the chin strength. Incorporeal is about how Rav feels like his life is falling apart and he wants to desperately cling to it. And he starts the first verse with some banger lines like, pull up in a straw hat and a ghillie suit, nails done, gun cocked, TBH, I'm feeling cute, navigating hell in a silly mood. The idea of life kicking him while he's down is present here in the second verse where he mentions being robbed and feeling like scars in his life are reopening. The beat is super atmospheric and feels like you're in space looking out at the stars or something. The Skin I Live In is another ethereal feeling beat with more lyrics about self-doubt and putting self-worth into someone else. The hook here is really good, but overall it's one of the more forgettable songs in the album in my opinion. Cryo is another spacey type beat. Most of these beats would have sounded perfect on Snow Globe Theory, but I digress. The lyrics in the first verse about therapy is pause temporarily, I'm taking a break. Before I break in my wake, rarely, barely okay. I ain't slept in my own bed or home in months. Only habit I've retained is self-loathing and smoking blunts. Moved across the ocean for better access to loaded guns. And now I'm here shooting what's meant for my skull into the air. Which seems like he's not done with suicidal thoughts, but it seems like he's taking a break from thinking that way and or so shooting guns away from himself. And the second verse references prosthetic self-love by interpolating one of the lines but now saying, yo, I have lost the love I have lost in people, watching bridges burn, watching my net worth increase though, as a companion piece to the original line, once I've lost her love and I've lost my people, all the bridges burn and my net worth sits at zero. The last track here, Me Forever, is an atmospheric beat, but it's only synth and bass. There are no drums, and Rav raps about uncompromising his self-worth and self-identity, reclaiming who he is and not changing for anyone. It's about moving on and the struggles of that, trying to relearn who he is and being enough for who he is as he is, and learning not to feel pressured for not being good enough. The theme of perseverance and remaining steadfast is also present here with a line of him saying, the bridges burn, I will survive. This last track really fucked me up on re-listen because at first I was like the serial guy, you know? Surely this guy won't put all of his worth into how people react to him and treat him on a day-to-day basis and then feel like he isn't good enough for people who aren't emotionally available. You know? My main point is that he's still got it. That spark and that feeling that so many artists lose after they start making music even 11 years later. They lose that raw energy, and I don't think Rav has. Rav knows why his music is good. He knows what draws people into it, which is something many artists struggle with. Okay, here are 5 songs I recommend. I'm going to sort it by good atmosphere, fun sounding, hard-hitting lyrics and writing, a collab song, and a song that shows his versatility as an artist. For the atmosphere, My Bag. For the fun sound, you fuckers were asking for this one. For the writing, Prosthetic Self-Love. For the collab, Sunshine Eternal We're Better as Friends by Aerospace featuring Rav. Yeah, that's a deep cut, boy. And finally, to show his versatility. I don't even remember recording this one, but whatever, I don't even care to be honest. Which disses Charles Hamilton of all people. You even know who that is, but it's okay. Overall, Rav is one of my favorite artists and I look forward to every single piece of music he drops because to me his music is such a monumental part of my media enjoying psyche. When I want to feel depressed and like I'm the problem, what other artists? Who else to go to but my main man, R.A.V. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. Maybe, hopefully. See ya.